Robert, you have the mic. Oh, you're on mute.
It would help
There
if I
you are.
unmute. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Veterans Resource Center at American River College, I want to thank you for joining us for the CalTAP webinar on strategies to enhance life through work-life balance. My name is Robert Smith. I'm basically the outreach person over here for the Veterans Resource Center at American River College. For those joining us across the state, American River College is in Sacramento and part of the Los Rios Community College District, one of the biggest community college districts in California. Our Veterans Resource Center is a one-stop shop for our veterans and their families in attendance at American River College. We have partnered with CalTAP and their amazing team and the Sacramento Vet Center to help provide valuable information and resources to our student veterans and their families, and of course, you all in attendance. With that, I'll pass this on over to Jennifer Rudquist of CalTAP. Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Robert, for having us and partnering
Absolutely.
with us. Again, I want to say thank you for joining CalVet and American River College for Strategies Work-Life Balance. Before we begin, as a disclaimer, we'd like to bring to your attention that this webinar is being recorded, and by logging in, you are agreeing to be a part of this recording. The recording will be on our website and available on YouTube, so you can watch it and share it with anyone that you might think that'll benefit this information. My name is Jennifer Rudquist, and I am proud to say I am a CalTAP training coordinator with the California Department of Veterans Affairs. My background includes being an Air Force veteran, growing up a military Air Force brat, a military spouse, and the mother of 3 active duty airmen. With that being said, I understand the hardships that come with serving your country. I would like to take a moment to say thank you to all the service members, veterans, spouses, children, parents, families, and friends for all that you've done and do to support the United States military. Uniformed or not, we understand here at CalVet that you all serve. And I want you to know, cradle to grave, that CalVet and all the organizations here are truly passionate about getting resources and assistance to you, and encourage you guys to reach out if at any time that you're in need or anybody that you know is in need, or if you have questions. Let's get started with the next slide here. So I'm excited you joined today's presentation because it's packed with really great information and resources that I know is going to make a huge impact on your lives. Today, we are joined by Dr. Jeffrey Cass, readjustment counselor for the Sacramento Vet Center, to present on strategies for work-life balance. Additionally, Michael Monk is here, another CalTAP training coordinator. He is listed in the chat as CalTAP questions. He will be putting lots of resources and links in the chat functions associated with the topics discussed. Additionally, he will be monitoring the Q&A tab, where we ask that you guys send your questions so that they can be filtered to the subject matter expert for that question. And at the end of the presentation, we will be addressing all the questions so everybody can hear them, because more than likely, if you have that question, somebody else is going to also have that question too. So let's get started with the CalTAP the CalVet overview. This is meant to give you guys a snapshot of the benefits and resources available to you. The goal is to get your feet wet with the benefits and acquainted with what your benefits are, where these benefits are, along with phone numbers and emails to people to assist you to access these benefits. So what is CalTAP? You guys have heard me say CalTAP a couple times. With the state of California, just like the military, we use lots of acronyms for everything. CalTAP stands for the California Transition Assistance Program. Our goal is to inform and connect veterans of all eras of their earned federal and state benefits, as well as provide continuing support and assistance as your needs change over time. We like to read that verbatim because we want you to know that we understand that your needs are going to change day by day, week by week, month by month, and year by year. What you need today, you may not need tomorrow, and the same goes the other way around. What you need tomorrow, you don't need today. So we are going to be with you here. We're going to be with you every step of the way. A really great way for us to do that is giving you guys access to 24/7 access to 5 different pathways on our website that include the core curriculum, education, employment, entrepreneurship, and service providers. Service providers is a really cool pathway for those that are serving veterans and their families. It's more of a competency and just kind of tell service providers what your needs are and how to help you the best. So the great thing about this learning platform is that you can go at your own pace through these pathways to learn and access resources and benefits for you and your family that you have earned and that you guys need. So here's the CalVet resource book. This is a fantastic resource book. It is like gold, you guys. Here's mine right here. There's a lot of stickers on it. There's a lot of tabs on it. I use it every single day. I was out of the military for 20 years before I went to a county veteran service office. Somebody said, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go. So I finally went to a county office and I said, I'm here for my benefits. They were like, well, which ones do you want? I had no idea what questions to even ask, because I had no idea what benefits were out there. And they gave me this resource book, and I was blown away by all the resources and benefits that are available to me. And it gave me a starting place, a jumping place to go to ask those questions about education, about healthcare, about compensation. Now, Michael is in the chat. Look at that chat, copy and paste. There's a link to that resource book, and I'm going to show you another place to find the resource book additionally. So how can you use CalTAP online? So this is the main page on calvet.ca.gov. We've circled here in yellow CalTAP. That's a CalTAP portal. But I want to point out before I move on any further, everything on this page is extremely user-friendly. Do not be afraid of rabbit holes, because those rabbit holes lead to benefits. Benefits is money in your pocket, you and your family's pocket. If you go down the page, you'll see a link that says resource book. You can download the resource book, share it with everyone and anyone that you meet that might need that. But there's a lot of different great things that are easy. Everything's a click. You just click on it and it opens right up. We're going to click on CalTAP right there in yellow. So these are pathways, like I was telling you before. We have right now circled core curriculum. If you look down the page, it says webinars. In addition to this webinar, we have lots of webinars we've done since 2020 of COVID, on employment, on entrepreneurship, on all sorts of different things, mental health, all sorts of great things. So if you look down the page, you can look at old webinars and you can look up what's coming up next. But we have right here core curriculum circled. Once you click that, you'll have the different modules within that, and it'll kind of break down the core curriculum for you. Here we have healthcare, we have claims, we have California benefits circled right here. So what are your California benefits? Here's the book. This is where it starts in the book on page 13. But here's a quick list of all the different benefits available in the state of California and all the different divisions in the state of California. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go through all of these, but I want you guys to take a mental note. If there's anything on here that you want more information on, please email me. I'll have my email at the end of this, and I'll send you all the information you need. I'll even call you if you'd like a phone call. So common veteran websites. This is va.gov. This is a hub for all of your benefits. Do not be afraid. Again, this is one of those that you don't want to be afraid of playing with. You're not going to don't worry about rabbit holes, because that's going to lead to something that you're going to need. So you're going to log in with your DS login or your ID me. You can use both of those to log in. You can download your letters from the VA, look up medical records, all that good stuff is right here. Here is my VA. It shows you how the healthcare works right here. It's really great, easy, user-friendly stuff. And this is My Health eVet. This is where you can talk to your doctors, you can message them, you can make appointments, you can refill those prescriptions. Everything is right here for you. So I've given you quite a bit of information, and I know I've spoken a little fast because I want to get to the meat and potatoes of this webinar. But I want you to know that we want to continue supporting you. And a way we do this is you can provide your non-DoD email to caltap@calvet.ca.gov, or you can register my CalVet, or you can add us on social media, which I've got some QR codes there that you can just use your phone right now and open that up. I highly recommend that YouTube QR code because all of our webinars are on there. So if there's anything that you were interested in learning more about, go to our YouTube channel. They're all posted there, those recorded webinars. Attend webinars. That's another thing you can do. And then fill out today's survey. Our surveys we use every single day. We want these webinars and we want the content that we're putting out there to be beneficial to you. If there's something that we're not presenting on, let us know. If there's something that is too much, let us know. Just let us know anyway, because we want to make these webinars better for you. This is our website, and this is how you register for my CalVet. And that way you can get all the different updates on webinars, and also you can get our monthly newsletter that talks about the theme of the month and other VA news related things, or new laws that passed, or any sorts of great things are in this newsletter. And there's always a little message from our Deputy Secretary Keith Boyland for Veteran Services. All right, this is that contact slide I told you about. Copy, paste, do whatever you need to do, take down my information, and send me an email or call our 1-800 number, and I will be happy to explain anything and everything to you. Even if you have a friend that needs help, please share my information. I've also put in here the crisis line. This is pretty great news. The crisis line used to be a pretty long number that a lot of us had a hard time remembering, but it's changed to 988. I hope, and we all hope, that 988 will be so common in your head, it'll be like 911, so that if you or somebody you know is in crisis, you can easily call 988 and then press 1. So please take note of the number 988, share that number with on your social media pages, tell people about this crisis line. With that, we're going on to the local agency network coordinator. Cole Wagner is a Sacramento area, Northern Valley Link region. Link stands for Local Interagency Network Coordinator. There's 8 links in the state of California. These links are employees of the California Department of Veterans Affairs. They work with us, but there are boots on the ground. They know specifically about the resources and benefits in your local areas. So if you need help with employment, you need help with food, you need help with finding a place to live, you need help finding vet centers around you, whatever it may be, the links are the people that are going to link you to all of the resources in your local area. Really great stuff. And there's 8 different areas right here, as you can see. So there's one for the Northern California area, which is Cole, which is yours in Sacramento. There's one that's in Central Valley, that's Annette. There's Inland Empire, that is Marlene. There is Lance, he's in the San Diego area. We have Ben, who's in Orange County. We have Anthony, he's in the LA area. We have Calvin, he's in the Central Coast area, that Monterey area. And Kevin Graves is in the Bay Area. So there is somebody in each one of these areas that are passionate about what they do and really want to help you. Even if you call Cole and you need something in a different location, he can help you get to the right people. So links, they provide outreach to service members, veterans, and their families. They make referrals, directly work with established service providers in the area, whether they're nonprofit or for-profit or they're government agencies. They know about all of them. They can also help with local emergencies like those fires and floods and things like that. They will be at those different areas to help you get your DD Form 214s or get whatever you need to get yourself back on your feet. They also provide leadership and advocacy to the local communities. They can connect you to your benefits with EDD, with American Job Centers. They can help you find county veteran service offices and healthcare. So this is Cole's information. Please jot it down and give him a call. He's very, very passionate about what he does. He's very, very knowledgeable about the area, and he encourages questions. So please give him a call if you have any questions at all. All right, now we've come to Dr. Jeffrey Cass's part of the presentation. He is from the Sacramento Vet Center, and he's going to go over strategies for work-life balance. Dr. Cass, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Great.
I'm Jeff Gass at the Sacramento Vet Center, and very grateful for this opportunity to maybe take a few minutes to share with you maybe something you're probably coming across a great deal on your own time, but my hope is to maybe bring it off the page. I would like to echo Jennifer's sentiments as well. Myself, an Air Force veteran, wanted to thank each and every one of you in your time served, either currently or previously, as well as those family members, immediate or those extended family members, as we know too, in our capacity in which we served. All that you have done, all that you are doing. So it's a privilege for me to have these opportunities to give a few talks. At the time I served in the early 90s, we were in the midst of a rift post-Gulf War. And I only bring this to light because it was early on in my career as an Air Force psychologist, if not specific to the issue of work-life balance, the idea that for many members transitioning out, I should say, from the military into the civilian sector, it really got me to thinking where maybe some of my experience, some of my training might be of value in helping those in terms of, at that time, coping with these lifestyle changes. For you all, I would suggest too, this idea of work-life balance also being somewhat of a lifestyle change, particularly given what we've had to contend with the pandemic over the last couple of years. So as I mentioned, my hope is to bring some of this material off the page. If at any point along the way a question comes up, please feel free to share something in the chat room. Again, I want this material to be as relevant as possible, and you can certainly help me with that if there's needing something to be clarified or a question that you might have in mind. So as we move to the first slide, you'll see a definition here of work-life balance refers to a level of prioritization between an individual person, their professional activities in their individual's life, as well as these activities as it relates to their job being present at home. Quite honestly, for some of us, if not many of us, that separation from work and home has been difficult, particularly if we have worked in some sort of telework, or if we're attending school, attending courses by virtue of something virtually, something online. That blending of work and home is just that, a blending of, for some of us, if not often. So in bringing this to light, we'll talk a little bit about and kind of highlighting the idea of prioritization, of looking at where we can separate out what's going on in our personal lives versus what's going on at work in a way where that balance may still lend itself to occasionally blending into both parts of our life, but maybe in a way that doesn't have us feeling as stressed. And what does that look like in terms of stress? Well, very often what I share with active duty members, what I share with veterans is, stress can reveal itself not so much in a way that is projected in the media. What it looks like sometimes is when we have some kind of ruminative or preoccupied thoughts, whether it be something at home when we're at work, or whether it be when we're at home, something about work. Maybe occasional disruptions in sleep, and maybe some disruptions in our day-to-day routine, and maybe others noticing us not as available, whether it's in the form of spending time with others or in terms of conversation. And again, that can happen both at work and at home. One thing that I didn't take a moment to share in terms of a slide that I would just ask each of you all, if you do find yourself where your work or schooling arrangement has you at home, to please look at somehow designating that space as something separate from home. Now, some of us may have the ability, for instance, to set up a little bit of a home office. If that's not a luxury you have, if it's simply a desk or a workspace you have at home, I very often encourage and suggest that that space simply be left alone when you're not at work. Kind of in a symbolic way, for instance, and this is a bit old school, have encouraged some of the staff to put, for instance, a little in and out box. Not that it's filled with any papers anymore, because most of what we do is online. but it helps them identify, save the actual physical space as it being their work designation area. It is also knowing too, much like when we were at work, that we are and should step away from our workstations. Now, again, in the immediate environment of our home, that's a little different than if we have a break room or somebody else around the corner. What I would suggest though is just that when you do allow yourself some of these breaks from work or some of these breaks from school, that you reach out, whether it's some texts, whether it's some FaceTime, whether if it's in the workplace, for instance, here at the VA, where we use Teams and take it upon ourselves. I have a couple staff that I check in with each day on my Teams system just to chit chat, quite honestly, and get caught up on a few things unrelated to work. So with that, I'll move to the next slide. So this slide is somewhat easier said than done. In identifying what the priorities are. One thing that I share with staff, I share with veterans, I share with active duty members is realize that these priorities can certainly change. Hopefully not day to day, but on occasion may very well be, depending on what is required of us, either at home or at work. So as I share this slide with you, would ask of you to kind of look overarching, kind of looking at beyond day to day. What is really something very important to you that you would find yourself focusing on? I will share it's running a little bit contrary to what we come across right now in terms of what is encouraged, what's recommended by the experts in the area of work-life balance. And what I mean by that is, this message of, making sure that work doesn't dominate our lives, making sure that school doesn't take up all our time. Well, I'll be honest, being a bit of a contrarian, if that is your priority, if that is most important to you, then my message is to be as such, to really look at again as that being a priority for you, so that those around you are aware of what time you are spending. And if it is in the case of work or school, that way, and we'll talk a little bit about boundaries in the presentation, it's known, it's communicated, it's something made aware of. Now, hopefully in time, that isn't to be the case, but if that is what you find to be the priority, it is such that it should be noted, it should be known. It's also though stepping back a little bit, taking a look at where there may be other priorities for you, again, be it at home or some part of that work. And very often with that, I do ask that people just put something down on paper, something that they can reference in terms of maybe 4 or 5 priorities in their life. Part of that putting on a sheet of paper is just kind of our own personal contract of what we might do to make sure we're kind of staying on track, knowing that this list can change. For the sake of an example, I find myself to be a part of a generation where I have an elderly family member, an elderly mother. And of late, that has been needing for me to attend to some things unrelated to things at work or other things going on in my life at home. Will that come to change? Very likely in the near future, as I'm able to make some arrangements on her behalf. But that being said, that is at the top of my list relative to about 2 months ago, where some things at work were the priority at that time. So realize this is not cast in stone, but it is something, again, that lends itself to us referencing. And when we maybe find ourselves getting a little squirrely and moving off in other directions, where other things seem to be taking up time that may not be as important, when we did a bit of reflection on where our priorities are, a way of making reference again to a list. Move to the next slide, please. Okay. So I might encourage you, maybe if not this week, in the next week or two. And again, this need not be in the form of a spreadsheet, maybe just making note. And again, maybe in a way that's somewhat tangible, something on your phone, something on your computer. Again, I'm a bit old school with a legal pad. Simply a matter of taking a look at what sort of time you're spending on things that may or may not be priorities for you. Again, very often I suggest First, looking at when you identify those priorities, learning again what may or may not be in line with those. And if they're in some way time spent where they're not lending itself to where you might be able to impact or affect these priorities, giving some question as to whether that would be time well spent or not. Now, again, these priorities are not having to be a function of work. These priorities are not having to have us at the end of the day feeling like we have done something or we have produced something. It's really a function of what, in terms of us taking care of situations and ourselves, is most important. What is an example of that? Well, again, one of the priorities very often I share with veterans, their family members, with staff, is the idea of allowing ourselves to take a bit of a break over the course of a day on multiple occasions, whatever that might look like. Whether it's hopping on the phone, whether it's playing a little Candy Crunch on the computer, or what have you, where again, time is spent where we don't necessarily find ourselves having to produce. Part of my work is in the area of mindfulness awareness. I will share with you, very often it is a bit of a hard sell when you speak with veterans, active duty members, or family members, or staff about allowing 1, 5, 10 minutes to simply take in where they are, or to take a step outside to kind of see what's going on in their surroundings, or to allow oneself to just make some notice, take some notice of their breathing, or simply taking in a few minutes of something, again, that they might find of amusement, of interest on their phone or computer. Realize in this time that you're allowing yourself a break from your day-to-day demands, you actually are doing something. One of the points very often I bring with veterans, active duty members, or family members and staff is a lot of the focus of my work is on the mind-body interaction. I'm not going to ask you to do this today, but I very easily could ask of you to affect your physical body in a way that would reflect some sort of stress, whether that's an increase in our heart rate, for instance, a little shortness of breath, or maybe some racing thoughts. All I'd simply have to have you do is sit and have you worry about something for a couple minutes. And in doing so, again, we respond to that physically. Heart rate goes up, muscle gets a little tense. Now, this isn't going to induce some sort of heart attack or stroke, or it's not going to induce muscle tension where you start to have a headache. But realize when we kind of find ourselves not allowing ourselves a break throughout the course of a day, that physically the demands that then subsequently impact our thought processes as well when we are so worn out from the day and sometimes feeling very discouraged. So in light of that, I will share with you, although I'm trained as a doctor, I'm not in a capacity to prescribe. I would share with you, there is something though I could ask of you all to do to see what we could do to kind of reduce some of the physical stress and mental stress we might feel during the day. And again, not having to leave your chair, not having to go anywhere. That would be, as I shared a few moments ago, of taking that break and how time might be spent, where you could allow yourself a couple minutes to step out. Whether it's literally to see what's going on outdoors, whether it's figuratively playing on the phone for a few minutes, whether it's taking a couple minutes just to notice our breath. Because what that does is it starts to slow the heart rate. It starts to reduce some of the muscle tension. It allows our mind, again, not to be so consumed or preoccupied with whatever was in front of us prior to taking this break for a few minutes. So again, a bit of an intervention, looking at, again, as we identify these priorities, what's important to us, making sure though too that they don't dominate our time. And again, with these priorities, having that listed in front of us on a sheet of paper helps us kind of stay on track and not allow sometimes other distractions to kick in that may get us inadvertently stressed. Go to the next slide. Now this is a little easier said than done. We've all served, we're all serving. That came with very often the understanding that you multitask, whatever your specialty was, whatever your assignment was. That being said, I would suggest to you looking at, and again, it kind of gets back to, what's important to you, what is the priority. Believe it or not, we're not going to be nearly as effective if we find ourselves focusing on a couple things at a time. That some of these things, again, maybe have to be put on hold, that there may not be something we're able to act on or do something about. Whether it's some sort of deadline at work in terms of a project we're working it on, whether it's assignments at school, again, knowing that we're going to have to find ourselves putting in the hours, whether it's for an exam or a paper. And although that may cross our minds, something we need to get to, we need to focus whatever, again, is in front of us at this moment in time. And again, it need not be work. This certainly can be time with family. This can certainly be when I need that 5 or 10 minutes to just simply focus on my breath or step out. So when you're assigning yourself that time to work, certainly put in that time to work. And when you're spending time with others, please make that the priority. Please be present and allow yourself to simply engage in that time, whatever it lends itself to. State of relaxation, a state of excitement, and a state of some sort of enjoyment. We can't let those around us to be able to experience us in a way where we can feel supported at times when we're feeling a lot of demands or stress on our time. I'll move to the next slide. Again, some of this is easier said than done. Again, with the demands that you have on your schedule, whether that be work or in the demands you have at home. Jennifer and I had a conversation a little bit earlier this morning about the two of us having children, each of whom in our households, those children have since launched. But it us having us kind of scratching our heads as to how now we spend our time, no longer having these, if not demands, things that we found with our children took time away from work. Took time, and I wouldn't say away from work because they were time well spent, in the impression I got from Jennifer, certainly in the case for myself, but we're unfortunately not having, some of these time requirements for the kids. Work can very easily bleed into our personal lives outside of the workplace. So with that in mind, would really encourage you, again, as you see in front of the slide, whatever this might look like for you, whether it's time for yourself, whether it's maybe a practice that simply has gotten away because of some of the demands of work and possibly at home. It may not entail having to be doing this on your own. It may, again, find yourself involved with others. And again, as you see this last quote, nothing at work was bigger for me than when I was coaching baseball with my son. Again, it kind of circles back to this idea of where the priorities are. Very often I share with others, we are truly most effective when we allow ourselves some time to be spent in a way that doesn't find ourselves consumed or preoccupied by work or some of the demands at home. It's like anything else. We can run a car engine throughout the course of a day, but it's going to be in the shop much more often than if I find myself kind of taking it somewhere, wherever that might be, around town or at work, and letting it sit and rest in the parking lot for a little bit before I hop back in and head back down the road. I would ask of you all to be a little bit careful of not having your engine run down, to the point where it becomes exhausting. And unfortunately, when it comes to the mind and body, unlike a car, we're not able to replace it when it hits 500,000 miles. So please keep that in mind. With that, again, what time you might need, very important. Would certainly encourage you as well to certainly make that known to others. This sometimes runs a little bit contrary to what you see in the media, that being that, especially with the pandemic, very often it's encouraged for us to reach out, to find ourselves where we can with others. Again, whether it's through the technology available, or with other forms or settings of, albeit social distancing, but in proximity to each other. Again, not to be a contrarian, but I do know for many of us, time to ourselves is as important as it is finding ourselves around others. I'll go so far as to cite some of the literature. I do truly believe there are those of us who are somewhat of an introvert. Those are some of us who are extroverts. And although I have a great admiration for the extrovert who finds ways to reach out and spend time with others, I know myself as an introvert, this private time is really important to me. It's a way that I kind of recharge my battery. Now, again, sometimes I have to be pulled away from that when there are emergencies or things that come up unexpectedly. But I would really ask of you, much like as you see on the slide, that this private time be seen as important as any meeting or assignment at school, that you have that time for yourself. Go to the next slide. And I'm not going to get up on a soapbox or be too preachy, as I shared a little bit earlier, where maybe there may be a bit of an imbalance between what we have in the way of demands of work and at home can lend itself to sleep disruptions, to sometimes dietary habits that aren't in our best interest, and sometimes with physical activity it being impacted as well. Again, where we can find ourselves, maybe if I can go back to this idea of a priority list, maybe what we might look at are some of these areas that might be priorities in addition to what's going on day to day, because with that proper sleep, not only does it help us mentally, but it lends itself to us being able to better respond physically, and may be able to respond better physically to things that may lend itself to where we might find ourselves increasing that physical activity, coming from a rested and not exhausted state. And maybe when it comes to some of the dietary choices where we have some decent sleep, we feel better able to kind of take care of ourselves in terms of what choices we make, instead of the state of exhaustion and some of the feeling of stress that overcomes us, giving us excuses around some of these dietary choices we make. One measure for me of when I feel stress is how many trips I make to Carl's Jr. Not that I still won't patronize Carl's Jr., but when I'm there ordering my Western bacon cheeseburgers more than a couple times a week, I need to step back and look at what's going on in my life. We'll go to the next slide. Again, this is something that here, especially in the States, is unlike other parts you'll find in the world. And that idea is vacation. We have, and I don't judge, but employers who don't quite have the same vacation system you'll find elsewhere. And I don't share that with any judgment, but I think sometimes implied for some of us, the idea of vacation is seen as a luxury. We almost kind of harumph when we're about ready to lose our vacation time because we simply haven't used it, leading up to a certain number of hours where our employer just can't continue to honor a certain number of hours. The idea of vacation, though, doesn't have to be a trip. It doesn't have to be lengthy periods of time. For some, it might be of a nature in which you find yourself just taking a day or two off, once or twice a month. Others, maybe it is more of a protracted, longer period of time that you might find yourself needing to be away, be it from work or from home. Again, what form of vacation differs for each of us. I would encourage, though, too, as you see the last part of the slide, that whatever that vacation and whatever form that might take, including staycations, or maybe if not turning off the cell phone or computer, it's just not being quite a part of your day-to-day life as it tends to be during your day-to-day life at home or at work. Go to the next slide. I'd encourage you to give some thought as well over the next couple of weeks. What that may be giving some thought to is simply where, if at all, you can find yourself supported in some way. where you can turn to others simply to let them know what kind of the priorities are and what kind of your work balance plan might be. And in that communication, it helping them to learn where they can be of support and help as well. It's been my experience is most people are looking for those opportunities. That being said, we're a population that doesn't tend to make that known. And so this is a bit, I know for some of us, of a reach, but I think it has great value because those around you do want to know where they can be of some help, and helping them identify that, give them a bit of a gift. So we'll move to the next slide. And just take a quick moment, not again, going to get on a soapbox. The data bears out when we're able to move, we drop the risk of things such as a heart attack, such as hypertension, such as diabetes, where we're looking at, about a half hour to 45 minutes a day. And this physical activity need not be all at once. It need not be going to the gym. It can be a matter of trying to capture these 10,000 steps. Whatever form that might take, just know it reduces the risk for some form of chronic illness by about 30 to 40%. Realize too that this sometimes has us taking time a bit away from those around us at home. Again, understand they'll benefit by that when they give us that opportunity to spend some time in terms of engaging our bodies physically. Quite honestly, because depending on the nature of the work, it does kick in a little bit of a hormonal response. It does kick in some endorphins. Move to the next slide. Okay. One thing to be a bit mindful of is, again, how much access we give others. We typically, as a population, be it veterans, active duty members, family, and staff in the healthcare industry, very much see us in our roles serving others. In doing so, unfortunately, it can be a bit blurred in terms of when we sometimes need to set some limits, of when we need to maybe serve in other ways that are more important or equally important. As you see on the screen here, where our time with family would be one where we probably do need to put that cell phone away sometimes, where we're with others, with family, sort of something emergent, or with friends, giving them our undivided attention. It lets them know we honor their importance in our life. It lets us also find ourselves less distracted. Move to the next slide. One other thing I'll give you some opportunity to give some thought about, maybe again in the coming month. So there may be someone you come across, could be at home, could be among friends, could be at work, or could be someone previous that you knew, might serve as a bit of a mentor or in the form of a life coach. Who you kind of observe seems to find that balance between work, between what's going on in their lives. It may be someone too, particularly in the workplace, who might have some suggestions on where you might find yourself advancing, where you might find yourself moving towards a particular career, maybe learning from them as well. Again, with that work-life balance of how they budget their time, what sort of priorities they may have found early in their career that finds them feeling or experiencing the success you observe in them. I mean, again, this can certainly be in an informal capacity. This need not be necessarily an arrangement where it's planned or scheduled in some way. Move on to the next slide. And this gets back to the idea of setting some boundaries, knowing, again, I very often share with veteran staff members, their family members, in the neighborhood of life, it's somewhat hard to be a good neighbor if we find ourselves overextended busily helping others, allowing work to become more of a priority than it should. Because in whatever time I might have, and when I say a neighbor, I don't mean literally in our neighborhood, but whether that might be something at work, be it with a coworker or a supervisor, or whether that would be at home with our partner or with our children or extended family. If I'm so busy scurrying around between work, between things at home, with maybe neighbors, very often I'm really not there in a way that sometimes they feel valued or feel as if I'm present. Am I saying no around those circumstances where it's not of a disruptive nature? It lends itself to those around me then knowing I can be present. It also lets those who ask of us things that we're not able to do right now, where they can come to us. Because with that no, very often I do ask if veterans or family members, active duty members and staff, and accompanying a bit of an explanation as well, so that it affords them the opportunities to know when there might be times they can approach you and likely will get your participation or get your involvement. On the next slide. So, again, taking a look at where you might find yourself, please give some thought of not just simply these next couple weeks, but this being a work in progress. Maybe allow yourself every month or two to kind of look at where you're at, to see where you may be experiencing some satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Again, there may be the ability to act on whatever it might be. It may begin looking at where these priorities might have changed. It's just realizing that this will be a work in progress. Not to paint a discouraging word, but it's also maybe taking the stress off, though, that there isn't an end point where you find that work-life balance. As much as I mentioned, Jennifer and I have found ourselves right now with kids having launched and time being spent maybe where a little more time is in the workplace. I know for myself, that's not such a bad thing because I have the good fortune to fortunately find myself in work that I really have a passion for, I love doing. And so it's not uncommon for me in the morning as I'm having a little breakfast to see what's kind of being posted out there of information that focuses on work-life balance. It focuses on employee wellness because it piques my interest. And I have the good fortune to find work that I'm passionate about. So I'll go ahead and move to the next slide. So I'm not sure how much I'm up against the clock. I don't know if it begs any questions or observations or comments.
All right, let's see what we have here. Michael, was there any questions in the Q&A? I didn't see any, but maybe there was.
No, there's none in the Q&A tab, no.
Was anything in the chat?
Not in the chat either.
All right, so while we wait for people to possibly ask some questions, I've got up here Dr. Cass's information, and that 916 number is for the vet center in Sacramento, the Sacramento Vet Center. And then this is all of our contact information here too, if you guys want to take a snapshot
Jennifer?
of that. Yes.
Go back one. That is not the number to the Sacramento Vet Center.
All right. Well, I can definitely edit that. Great.
Thank you.
Or let's put that in the chat.
I shall.
And I was going to say, Jennifer, in the next slide, you do have the correct number on there. So
All
there you go.
right.
There you go.
Well, this is the correct number, everybody. So jot this number down. And then let's see. Cole's information is also on here. So he is that local interagency network coordinator in Sacramento area. He's one of the best. Absolutely love Cole. Cole's a great guy, and he is very knowledgeable and very passionate about helping veterans. Michael's information is there. My information is there. Again, please send me an email if you want to chat about anything at all, or you have a friend that needs help at all. And these are our upcoming webinars right here. We have another webinar on mental health and suicide prevention. We have one on PTSD coping strategies, and it also is going to have a presenter who's going to present on emotional support animals and how service animals can help with coping with PTSD also. We have navigating VA disability claims, which can be very complicated, but this webinar is going to be a great resource to you, and claims and compensation also. And to sign up for any of these, you can go to our event, our Eventbrite, just like you did for this webinar. Now, here's our survey. Please fill this out. Take a few moments to fill it out. We fully intend and we implement improvements to hold future webinars. We want to suit your needs. We want to benefit you. So use your phone, do a QR scanner for that. Let us know how we're doing. And give us any comments on if there's anything else that you would like us to do, if there's any subjects that we haven't covered quite yet and you would like to hear more about it. This right here is our social media pages. We have the Calvet website. There's a QR code for that. The Instagram, Facebook. Facebook will also tell you about upcoming webinars, and that YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. We do 2 webinars a week, sometimes 4 webinars a week. And so we are constantly updating new information, new webinars on there. So join that YouTube channel, share those YouTube videos with those that you think that might benefit from them. Our phone number is there. And again, 988. Let's make that as common as 911 for Veterans Crisis Line. We want to make if there's anybody that's in need or in crisis, we want to help them. So even if it's not you, if it's a friend of yours and you want to, help them in some way, shape, or form, call 988 and get assistance. Let's see, and that's the end of the slideshow. Let's go back to the questions. We did have a Q&A, Michael?
Yes, I actually have the question in front of me. Do you want me to go ahead and read it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So any recommendations on finding a life coach or mentor if you don't currently know of anyone? Yes, actually, I do. Which is actually where I'm going to find myself over at the VA. For anyone who is, I'm going to strongly encourage, if you haven't already, ensure that you are signed up over at the VA, especially any post 9/11 veterans out there. Please go ahead. Not that you necessarily need to follow up with the VA at this time, but just know that the healthcare system is there at any point in time you might need them. Why I bring this to light is there is a huge nationwide across the VA healthcare system movement towards trying to really personalize the healthcare that's being delivered, to find where whatever sort of outcomes you are looking for have application to your day-to-day lives, which includes recently funding for life coaches at the VA. So VA Northern California now has 5 life coaches. They're accessible simply by reaching out to one of your primary care providers or nurse care managers. They are available. The approach is based on research at the University of Wisconsin, and they are willing to work with you across about every facet of anything that you find as part of your day-to-day life, having some bearing on your personal development, on your work. It does cover things such as things like the dietary, physical activity, but it looks at other things in terms of the role that relationships might have, in terms of what might be going on for you, in terms of looking at when we say power of the mind, what sort of practices you are looking at in terms of taking care of self. It touches upon things such as one's surroundings, what may or may not be conducive. Again, whether those be physical surroundings or, again, referencing back relationships and the like. And they work with you both individually, as well as they do have an 8-week life coaching workshop as well, called Taking Charge of My Life and Health. And it is available to all veterans finding themselves in the VA healthcare system. So that's one avenue. One other area I suggest too is, if or a couple other areas. Increasingly, workplaces through their HR are where they find, if not staff, willing to serve in some capacity to mentor, especially those early in career. Or, believe it or not, typically this references where you may have come across it when people are experiencing some problems of living. But increasingly, employee assistance programs have also life coaching programs available. Again, not because you're having issues related to problems of living, but something more specific to what may be going on at home or at work. And then, in university settings, very often over at the career counseling centers, I know for myself, at one time where I did some part-time teaching, they have faculty who very often will serve in some capacity as, if not kind of, a life coach, at least in kind of a mentoring sort of role as well. And that might be something to give some thought to in touching base at the career counseling center. And if not faculty, I know sometimes too around some internships. Had veterans and active duty members find themselves in placements that within those internships, if again, not so much the life coaching piece, at least maybe some sort of mentoring role kind of in the workplace. So hopefully, and again, when it comes to this life coaching at the VA, it's simply making it known to the healthcare system, where they'll send off a referral to one of the life coaches, what they call a whole health coach, and they'll be in touch with you. And they can do their work both by phone, telehealth, or in person. So that's up to you.
Wow, there's so many different resources that are out there, and I'm so glad this is up front. And I feel like it's such a movement right now. I believe, and I feel like it's so beneficial and it's so needed. And so I'm really excited about all the different ways that we can get assistance. There's not just one way, there's several different ways to get assistance. Great. Let's see, is there any other questions, Michael? I did
No.
see that Albert put a lot of great stuff in the chat, everybody. So if you want to copy and paste Albert's information, Albert works with Dr. Cass in the Vet Center in Sacramento.
Well,
So,
I want, if I may, Jennifer, too, this is an environment and we're really now moving since, for want of a better word, things are opening up. And here at the Vet Center, it has been work that very much reflects this idea of life coaching, and whether that's in the course of some of the counseling sessions or more in other settings, even of a somewhat informal nature, where Albert's taken it upon himself with some of our counselors to be out in the community. So for instance, we have a bocce ball group on Thursday mornings. That again, it's a very informal environment. It's a chance to catch up with some others. It's mixed with some older and younger veterans. Again, needless to say, some of those older veterans are able to draw from a little life experience, to share a little bit where they might have a bit of a mentoring role. We've got a bowling group on Wednesdays that get together. We're soon to get a pickleball group started, again, in environments that, I won't use the word therapeutic, but therapeutic in the sense that really veterans coming together, forming relationships, creating some relationships amongst themselves are some other opportunities where you might just find that life coach / mentor. And really a great environment to do just that. And we're always open to other means by which we can have veterans find themselves coming together, including some of the groups that we have going on each week as well. So
I might be joining some of those groups. You might see me, Dr. Cass.
the door's open anytime. It's open anytime.
All right. Let's see. Is there anything else? It looks, it doesn't look like we have anything else. And we have 2 minutes left. And I want to take this opportunity to say thank you, Dr. Cass. Thank you, Robert Smith with American River College. Thank you to all of our attendees today for being a part of this webinar. And I want to reiterate, every single one of us are very passionate about getting resources to you. Take down our information, give us calls. And thank you so much for everything that you've done and that you do to support the United States military. And thank you. All right,
Somebody
everybody.
has raised their hand.
Oh, we have a hand raised. Awesome. Great. Let's unmute them. Let's see. Let's unmute you. Allow to talk. All right. You you should be allowed to talk now. Pass unmute. It's GL Hurd. Are you able to speak? If you'd like, you can put your question or whatever in the chat. I think they might be having a hard time. Can you talk now? Maybe their microphone is not working. No mic. Okay. Well, you can definitely type it in the chat, and we can respond to it in the chat if you'd like. While we're waiting, I'm going to go right back to our upcoming webinars for you guys. So you can look at that one more time. Again, you go to Eventbrite to sign up for those webinars. And then I'm going to go one more time into the survey link so you guys can check that out, possibly fill that out. And then we're going to go back here for the social media and the 988 number. So yes, GL Hurd in the chat put, need help with retirement. I've served in 3 branches. You can give me a call and I can assist you with any questions you might have. If I don't know the answers, I definitely can assist you with getting in touch with the County Veteran Service Office in Sacramento. They are a fantastic wealth of information and resources. They can get the DD Form 214s for you. They can help you fill out your disability claims. They can do what they definitely have all the different resources to get whatever you might need as far as benefits. So I'm going to type in here GL Hurd, my great. I'm going to type in my information in the chat so you can copy that down and send me an email if you'd like. All right. Well, thank you everybody for today. I really appreciate everybody. Stay safe, stay balanced, and congratulations on your, if you're at American River College, congratulations on your decision to get that education and chase those life goals. And I think that's it. Does anybody else have anything else to say? Robert or Dr. Cass?
So thank everybody again. Wish you all the very best. Thank you for this opportunity today.
Thank
you, everybody.
Oh, and we do have a TAPS program at Beal. Any more questions? Yes. All right. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Michael, do you want to stop recording?